Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 176. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So last week, I was asking you if you wanted to take off because I didn't feel like working on the podcast, and you were like, sure, no problem, because there wasn't a lot happening. And it turned out that was really smart of us to take off last week.
Yeah, and we sort of knew that, like, there was stuff coming up that we wouldn't have a chance to cover in, like, last week's podcast. So I'm glad we waited until this week to just cover everything.
We'll get to that in a minute, but I did not think that there was stuff coming up. I did not think that.
Yeah, well, no matter what, Trooping the Color was going to be a story, whether she turned up or not.
Yeah, true.
I'll just say that.
So I've been watching this show on Apple TV called Dark Matter. It's got Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Connelly and Jimmy Simpson. And it's this crazy sci-fi, like, multiverse story. And it's really bold. Like, it took me a little while to warm up to it, but now I'm all in and I want to know what happens. And it's unlike most anything I've seen before. I really like it.
Can I just say something about Joel Edgerton?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, I think he's awesome. He's, like, really handsome and charismatic. Yes. And, like, I think he's a real movie star, but I don't get his career at all. Like, he should be the next Russell Crowe.
Yeah, he should be. I would love to see him in more stuff. He's playing different versions of himself. I don't think it's a real spoiler to say that. And you can tell with the subtle differences that he plays. I hope he wins Emmys for this. This is a great performance. Yeah, and I would like to see him in more things.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if he's, like, too artsy for his own good, if that makes sense. Like, I think he's really into writing and directing. And I wish someone would just say, like, dude, just be a movie star, because you have everything.
He does. He does. What, are you watching anything good?
All right, so I finished Bridgerton.
Okay.
You know, season 3 Bridgerton. I enjoyed it mostly for Nicola Coughlan. Is that how you say your name?
I assume.
She's great. I love her to pieces. And she was acting her ass off. I love her so much. I wasn't totally crazy about this season, but there were some really cute parts.
Okay.
The character I hate the most, she didn't have a huge storyline in it, so.
Her little friend there, that other Bridgerton girl.
Yeah, the Eloise Bridgerton. I hate that character. And the actress herself seems actually very cool, but I hate the character.
Yeah, I remember you saying you hated her. I haven't really watched it. I only watched the first season, but a lot of people like it.
There's some really cute parts.
Nice.
Nicola is just amazing. She, has, like, real love scene. It's really beautiful. They really did it, like, full on. It wasn't like, through a misty, gauzy lens or whatever.
I'll fast forward to that so I could see it.
And what else have I seen? I watched Late Night with the Devil.
Where is that? What streaming?
I rented it on Vudu.
Oh, okay.
I'd seen a bunch of stuff about it, and I was like, well, maybe this will be cool. And I'm not great with horror, and I thought it would be like just like a cool horror film, if that makes sense. Like, not too gory, whatever.
No,
like,
it seems scary.
That shit scared me. It really did.
I was surprised that you said you watched it. Because, I've seen all the Conjuring movies. I love that shit, but that is not your thing.
Oh, God. I could not watch a Conjuring movie. I would never be able to sleep again.
They're scary as hell.
But I was so fine with the movie up until, like, the last 20 minutes or so. I had nightmares after that.
Oh, no. No.
But the guy in it was really good. I'm not going to do like an in-depth review of it, but it was a cool concept. It was well done.
Okay.
I wish there was kind of more backstory on like the Satanism or devil worship or whatever it was, but I'm so kind of like strung out today because I stayed up late watching the Pop Out, Kendrick Lamar's Juneteenth concert.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was one of the best things I ever watched.
That is so cool. Was that streaming on YouTube or where did you watch it?
It was streaming on Amazon Prime.
Nice.
For free. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was just great. He gave so much space to like local musicians. I'd never heard of like almost all of those guys. DJ Mustard had a like really great set with all these guest stars come out, and Tyler the Creator came out. I was like shocked at the reception he got. I mean, like, he's super popular, but the whole stadium just went crazy when he came out.
The Gen Z kids love him. My son and his friends listen to him a lot.
I guess, yeah, maybe that's it. Gen Z.
Yeah.
And he was only on stage for like 2 or 3 minutes. But he just killed it. And that was cool too. Like, all these guys really just came out for Kendrick and to like celebrate the LA music scene.
Neat.
And Kendrick's set was just incredible. He kept running back, not like us. He did it 6 times in total.
That song is so awesome.
He went from like having Dr. Dre on stage with them and doing California Dreaming. Then Dre was about to walk off stage, and then Dre like came back and said, "I see dead people." And that just started the whole thing. Oh, it was amazing.
That's awesome. Sounds fun. I'm sad I missed it live, but I'll catch it on demand. All right, let's talk about the Royals. So last week, Friday, which was June 14th, our comment moderator emailed me to say that there was an announcement expected from Kate at 6 p.m. London time. And I was like, all right, well, I still got to take a shower, so I'll get to whatever it is after. And I took a shower. As I'm in the shower, she texted me again. And I really did not think it was going to be much. And it kind of wasn't. Like, it was just a faraway picture of her. It looked like every other Franken photo of her. And there was a message with it. And the message was actually pretty good, especially compared to the previous messaging. Some of it seemed genuine to me. Like, she said she had good and bad days and she's still doing treatment. And she also said that, she's not out of the woods, but that she plans to be at trooping. I truly believed that we were going to see some faraway person with sunglasses on, and they were going to tell us it was Kate.
Yeah. I kind of thought that too, that it wouldn't be like super close up, that she wouldn't be there for the entire ceremony, that she'd just like step out onto the balcony at the very last minute. And like you said, like wearing a big hat, and you wouldn't really be able to tell if it was her.
Because of all the clownery that they've been doing with the photos and the fake videos and everything.
All right, so like just back up for a second, because I have a question for you.
Okay.
All right, if her appearing at trooping was always the end game, if like she knew ahead of time that she was going to go to trooping and like stand there and be photographed for hours on end, why did she release the photo on Friday? And like, it was a highly edited photo too. Why even release the photo on Friday?
This actually makes me believe, and I've said this before, that she is the one editing them and calling the shots with the photos, because that would explain the terrible PR and the bad photoshopping.
Well, and that's what a source said
Photoshop is my passion, is Kate,
And that's what someone said, like a royal source said to the Daily Beast. They're like, it's not super complicated. It's not like they have a large team advising them. It's just Will and Kate making these dumb decisions.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
I don't believe that. I mean, maybe it's Kate making dumb decisions, but there are too many shenanigans over the course of months. Too many bad decisions across all levels for this to just be like Kate and William sitting at a table saying like, I know what would be a great idea.
No, I agree with you, because like when there's a spectacular failure on this level of anything, like a company, a product, royal publicity, whatever, it's multiple points of failure.
Oh yeah, exactly.
A lot of people making bad decisions, no one running things clearly, no plan.
Oh, that's another thing. Like, Kate and William are exceptionally bad managers.
Yeah.
Long before the mess this year, they've shown us that they cannot manage their way out of a paper bag.
Yeah, that is accurate. So we heard for weeks that we shouldn't expect to see Kate until the autumn, and then it was like, okay, we're not going to see her till the end of the year, and the summer break is coming up. She's probably not going to come out before then. So her going to trooping was a big surprise, even though she sort of announced it Friday.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. I would say so, because, all the royal sources the days beforehand were making it sound like people should tune in for something. But yeah, she's probably not going to come. She had already missed the rehearsal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that was a big deal that she missed the rehearsal. So yeah, it was a surprise that she announced it Friday and that she showed up and that she like did almost everything, like she stood at the balcony and she stood at the second balcony and like she walked with her children and she was in a carriage.
Yeah, she did the whole thing. And to be fair to her, it might have been a situation where she doesn't know how she's going to feel day to day, because in her statement, and I can relate to this, like you have good and bad days. And that's how I felt when I was dealing with chronic illness. And it's possible, she wasn't sure she was going to feel good enough, so she didn't want to commit to it till the last minute. That also could explain why she's not doing other appearances and things, although I think they should be more accommodating to her and let her Zoom if she wants to.
Yeah. I mean, if the argument is like, oh, she's completely justified for confirming it last minute, yeah, I agree. That's fine with me. I don't think that this was like some huge plot of like, oh, she's going to make a huge splashy debut at Trooping the Color. And, we're planning for this for months. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was a last minute thing. And it probably was contingent on how she was feeling and whatever was going on with her.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh, she looks fine. We have a member of our Zoom group that had cancer, and she said people told her that all the time when she was her sickest. It's kind of hard for her to see people say that about Kate. Whatever she's going through, people have invisible illness. We don't know what it is.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is if her appearance is fine, then why all the crazy Franken photos? Why all this hiding? Why the staged photos with other people?
It could be two things. I think we talked about this in our last podcast. Like, she has cancer and she's leveraging something against William and didn't want to put up a united front or show that she's still working for the firm for whatever reason. And it's probably something behind the scenes, like some kind of separation or divorce.
Yeah. I'll buy that there are multiple things happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's not just an illness and it's not just, divorce negotiations. I've never really believed, that Kate is in a position of power where she can hold William's fire to the feet in any sort of negotiations. That's not their deal at all.
It does not seem to be. So after we saw her at Trooping, we got all these pieces about how amazing she is for doing that one thing in 6 months. And Allison Pearson at the Telegraph, she ran a piece with the subtitle, quote, "When lesser mortals would have stayed home, Catherine proved that the show goes on," which was really poor choice of wording because people get sick and they can't do things, and that's human. It's a lesser mortal if you have cancer and you decide not to show up to something. I don't understand what they were thinking they were doing with that statement.
And by Kate's own story, she did stay home for 6 months while other cancer patients had to go to the doctor, had to take trains, had to take the subway. They were doing their jobs full time, all while getting cancer treatments. They're not lesser mortals because of that.
Exactly. And it would be easier to understand if she would have been writing pieces highlighting those people or talking to them over Zoom, or even if they had on their Instagram, here's what the NHS is doing for cancer patients here, but that messaging didn't happen. King Charles did a little bit of that. He met with cancer patients.
Yeah, and he opened up a cancer center too.
Yeah.
This is why I think Kensington Palace is once again in charge of their own messaging. I thought Buckingham Palace took over for like several months because Kensington Palace had fucked it up so badly in March. So I think KP is back in charge of their own messaging because it's so chaotic of, Kate is practically being sainted because she showed up for Trooping. And I'm not making fun of her for that. Good for her that she came out. We were really happy to see that she was okay.
Yeah.
But she's not a fucking saint. And she's not a goddess on earth because she came out for the first time in 6 months. And the messaging of this is the best and greatest thing that she's ever done. And everyone else is dog shit. And then also she's so vulnerable, you guys, don't expect her to do too much. The messaging is all over the place.
It's not very good or cohesive.
Yes.
And it would be better if they would have said she really appreciates all the time that she's been allowed to recuperate and that other people are not afforded that. And she appreciates you understanding. There was some of that, but not enough.
And then her PR was like, lesser mortals off to the side. Yeah.
Yeah, it was silly and bad. And she's also on the cover of People magazine, and they have quotes from King Charles's biographer, Catherine Mayer, and, you know, she's saying it's an act of service that Kate showed up to this. Okay, you know.
Yeah, I thought Mayer's comment was very interesting. However difficult or otherwise this has been for Kate, appearing was an act of service under the terms of the institution she is part of. Basically, you can't go missing for 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. However difficult or otherwise. That's very pointed.
Yep.
And then this week, we didn't hear much from Harry and Meghan, except Harry's best friend, Nacho Figueras. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I should have looked it up. A lot of times before we talk, I'll look up how to pronounce people's names.
Please welcome my friend, Nacho Figueras.
He posted photos of his dog. He has like a little whippet type dog. I don't know what type dog it is. Next to biscuits and jam sent to him by Meghan. And the jam was like a new batch because it was labeled 2 out of 2, you know, just a nice little present from her.
It was raspberry jam, not strawberry.
Yeah, it was a new batch or something. So Meghan sent a gift to her friend, okay? And there were multiple stories about how this was an affront to Kate returning. And
yeah.
Source told the Daily Beast, quote, "You have to ask yourself, who would set out to ruin a cancer sufferer's day? It's absolutely pathetic. Like, how are you ruining, like, your sister-in-law's day by sending your friend jam and dog biscuits and your friend decides to post it?"
Yeah. In that one post, I was trying to do the math of, like, when did Meghan actually send this to Nacho? Because it felt like she probably sent it days before anyone knew that Kate would turn up at Trooping.
Either he was thinking of it and he was being shady, or he wasn't. Either way, it's his decision. And what she's like, oh, I better not send my friend jam, even though I just made it and it's fresh and the dog biscuits are fresh because my sister-in-law is going to be at a thing, but maybe she won't be there. I don't know. Like, what?
And the whole idea that, like, Kate is seen for the first time in 6 months and instantly gets overshadowed by jam.
And it's not even Meghan posting the jam. It's just some jam she made.
I know.
I'm surprised they didn't bring up Kate's fucking chutney. Well, I make chutney.
The poor Wadey got overshadowed by jam. You don't understand how hard her life is.
So we talked about the royals on Zoom, and this is Karen, Ashley, Courtney, April, and Zakiya.
Well, it's nice to know that Kate is alive. Okay, why the Franken photo?
I don't think she had anything to do with that. I personally think that was all Kensington Palace. And just like we said then, they blamed her for something they did. Because a lot of the times they're like, oh, Catherine did this, or William did this. They don't do anything. They are truly lazy.
I really wonder if something happened and the separation divorce thing went further. I do think that she probably is sick with something, but I think it's also compounded by whatever divorce separation thing is happening in the background. And she's lost a lot of her power that she otherwise would have had. But at the same time, this weekend proves that she does have a ton of power, but her power is very much tied to the kids.
I was like looking in comments and they were like, well, Kate was there too. She didn't get like this astounding round of applause and people were so excited. The crowd, from what I heard, you know, people talking about it, and there was a lot of booing going on.
And there was an aerial shot where it really wasn't a big crowd.
Yeah, it wasn't a big crowd.
I thought it was funny with the people that had the "Not My King" signs. One guy even had a whole jacket. It's funny, though, they still managed to bring Meghan in it because somebody showed her jam. They said she took away from Kate's big thing. If jam could take away from Kate, Kate's not that big. They don't even get what they're saying when they say the stupid stuff that they say.
It was Nacho, you know, Harry's real brother, and it was dog biscuits. And they were freaking out over it.
And if he did that on purpose, I love that he's being missed.
I find it interesting that her mother and father were out right after she appears. And someone on Twitter was like, oh, the negotiations must be over. And I was like, there you go. That's it. They were negotiating. They were negotiating at the. I mean, we did not see them, well, except for that, whatever that car photo we saw, Kate's mom.
Which but now I don't think was supposed to happen. We were not supposed to see that.
So, yeah, Zakiya mentioned that we finally saw Carol and Michael Middleton again, and that it happened right after Kate came back. And that was pretty telling.
Yeah. I find it more shocking than Kate's appearance at Trooping, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, Kate had to turn up eventually. Carol did not.
No, and we had stories just last week that the Middletons had stiffed the insolvency firm that restructured and sold their business Party Pieces. So it was all these stories about how the Middletons were defrauding people, and then they're at Royal Ascot and William is posing with them and everything is forgiven.
Last year, when Party Pieces went under, the reporting was just flat reporting in the British media. Like, they weren't pulling their punches. They were just like talking to the small business owners that got screwed over by Carol and Party Pieces. And
yeah,
they kept talking about like, oh, you know, and she took out 7-figure pandemic loans from the government, and those aren't getting paid back either. And she owes over £3 million to various people, including the government. And all of them got stiffed. She stiffed the insolvency firm that sold off Party Pieces. And the guy who bought Party Pieces was like, by the way, the Middletons have nowhere near as much money as like anyone thinks. And they spent decades trying to convince everyone they are rich. Rich. It was all a house of cards. And it all came tumbling down last year. And now it's all being whitewashed.
And if you sign up for our mailing list, you can get the top 10 stories about the Middletons' shady finances. I'll put the sign up for that in the post for this podcast. But also, Uncle Gary, if he was funding them, he must be broke too, because he went on Big Brother and showed his whole perverted self. Like, oh, that guy. Ugh.
Well, and I mean, yeah, he must be broke ass too. Like, I do think that he had money at some point, not as much as everyone claimed, but he had money, and he largely financed the Middleton kids' education. Like, I think he was the one paying for private schools and like Kate's 10-year waiting period. He was bankrolling a lot of that, and I guess he ran out of money.
So these people are back in the royal fold. Kate did not go to Royal Ascot, and she didn't go to the Order of the Garter investiture ceremony earlier this week. That's like some exclusive high level of knighthood society with 24 members. But yeah.
And I mean, the Daily Beast was like the only outlet I saw that was like really questioning why, you know, if Kate was okay for trooping, why she couldn't have either made it to the Garter ceremony or Ascot. I'm kind of fine with not seeing her. She let everyone know that she was going to skip those ceremonies and that people shouldn't expect to see her for a little while. I do think we'll see her at Wimbledon.
So she's supposed to be at Wimbledon. That's happening the 1st of July is when it starts till like mid-July. And Katie Nichol at Vanity Fair said that Kate only wants to do things that bring her joy. So no, and I also do have to say, like, she might have a situation where if she does something, she has to pay for it for a few days, and she's exhausted after, and so she should rest up. I mean, it would be a lot smarter of them all if she would clearly state that. And maybe they think they are, but...
Or she could say, you know, other than 1 or 2 public appearances for the next few months, I'm just going to do Zoom.
Yeah.
Just sit at a desk at home, talk for 20 minutes. That's it. Having seen her at Trooping, I'm shocked that they haven't done that already. That's all I'll say.
So that she's going to Zoom. But yeah, also, you know, she could be a little more transparent about what's going on. But I'm glad that she's back. I'm glad she's fine, and that what people were saying, some of the scenarios that people were saying is not accurate, and that, you know, she's back. It was very curious. And It seems like a return to the status quo in a way. She gives me Melania vibes, and she always has, and I'm getting that now more than ever.
I don't know about Melania vibes personally, but they have more in common than most people would acknowledge.
You're being diplomatic. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week.
All right, my comment of the week, I just wanted to talk about Kendrick Lamar again.
Okay.
So I wrote about the Pop Out concert, and sevenblue wrote, I also saw people calling it Hatechella. Kendrick is truly a #1 hater. I'm sure no one can hate like him. He's so good live, one of the best performers of our time. It was a hate fest, but it was so joyful. If that makes any sense. It was joyful hate. Like, he was absolutely destroying Drake. He had no qualms about it. It was a fucking funeral for Drake. And yet it was so happy. And everyone was so happy to, like, hear him perform those songs live.
Nice.
But yeah, it was called Hatechella, Gangchella. It was such a fun concert, though.
I saw that an aerial picture on Twitter of the group photo that they took of everybody at the end of the concert or at some point during the concert. And somebody wrote, like, somebody's grandma is going to have this picture on their wall in 2046.
Well, I mean, what we saw happen over the past 2 months is, like, genuine hip-hop history.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch.
It was a historical thing, like, you know, how they talk about Tupac and, like, what he did, whatever, 30 years ago, more than that. Every move Kendrick made to destroy Drake was just beautiful.
All right, my comment of the week is from Lane, Lane, on your follow-up post about Justin Timberlake's arrest for DWI. And he refused a breathalyzer. The cop was too young to recognize him. And he was like, oh, what about my tour, the world tour? So Lane wrote, the happy Juneteenth cracked me up. Just desserts. I hope Janet Jackson has a laugh, and Britney for good measure. So in some of the posts showing him looking all dejected leaving jail, people tweeted that picture and wrote Happy Juneteenth Eve. Everybody finds him so annoying, and he's done a lot to alienate people. So it's kind of desserts.
It's sad, but it is funny because everyone's clowning on him. But, like, it's sad because he, in my opinion, he very clearly has a drinking problem. And
yeah, you have to drive drunk like that. Like, in my worst times, I did not drive, you know.
And I think that if he was 20 years younger, you might say, oh, maybe he doesn't necessarily have a drinking problem. Maybe he's just really stupid and young. He's 43 years old. And you're driving drunk. You have children.
Yeah.
Be a fucking adult. But yeah, I just saw a TMZ story that said, I mean, they're getting this straight from Justin's people, that he's not going to rehab and that his world tour is going to continue. So,
okay. We were talking about it on Zoom. I didn't excerpt it because I didn't want to dedicate a large part of the podcast to it. But they were saying that there are some people who think that the whole thing was staged so he could cancel his tour because it's not selling well.
No, he said the tour is continuing. I didn't know that it's not selling well. It wouldn't surprise me. I think it's not just about Timberlake being an asshole. Like, I think that
his music
whatever's
is super
happening with the tours,
like, nobody cares about his music. You know, it's not that good.
Yeah, you remember when he tried to do that ripoff of Pharrell's "Happy"? And like,
the troll song. Oh my god, that was a song in my Zumba, and they kept playing it over and over. And I'm like, please, no.
It was horrible.
Please. Yeah,
and it was such an obvious attempt to rip off Pharrell too.
Yeah, it was bad. I'm looking forward to Pharrell's Lego biopic.
That looks so cute.
It does look adorable. I love the Lego movies. I'm gonna totally watch that. So, all right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.